Okay, so good morning, everyone. I see that so far we are a small group. We have only 4 participants. I have Najla, Durra, Samia, and there is someone else, which is Asus, but I think that this is the laptop brand. If you can drop a message on the chat, just tell me your name, that will be helpful. And hopefully other people will join. Amira, okay, cool, pleasure meeting you. Hopefully other people will join later. I assume that some of you, if not all, attended the previous sessions. So this is the Professional Development Club in the American Corner. It's being held remotely for now because I'm based in Washington, D.C., but hopefully soon it will be in person every Saturday. And the previous sessions, we discussed multiple interesting topics, such as how to plan your career, how to develop a resume and CV, and also how to use LinkedIn to build network and to land professional opportunities. Please bear with me if you hear my dog barking in the background. He wants to go out, but not for now. I'll take him out after this session. Yeah, today we are going to be talking about cover letter and motivational letter. Let me share my screen. So I hope that you guys can see my screen. And yeah, today we are going to be talking about cover letter and motivational letter. I know that cover letter and motivational letter, they are a bit different. So today we are going to be discussing the differences between both. We are going to be talking about what are the components of a cover letter, when we need them, when we need a cover letter, what's the structure of a cover letter, and also we are going to be talking about motivational letter, when we use a motivational letter exactly. And yeah, we are going to see the difference, and also we are going to share some tips how to build a really attractive cover letter and motivational letter as well. So yeah, the session is going to be for an hour, and then there will be 30 minutes at the end for questions. But in the meantime, if you would like to drop questions in the chat box, please feel free to do it. And after the presentation, we can go through the questions and provide answers. So basically, cover letter and motivational letters. Let me start first with the cover letter. Cover letter, usually they are submitted for professional purposes. And I know that many of us, they do not give huge importance for cover letter. I know that sometimes in job posting, you go through the job description and then they ask you to submit your CV, which is something mandatory. But then for the cover letter, most of the time, it is not mandatory. They say, would you like to submit any additional documents? And then they give you the option to submit your certificates. They give you the option to submit your transcripts, your degree, and cover letter as well. Other jobs, no. Other jobs, they make cover letter mandatory. And the question here is whether or not we, even though some jobs, they do not ask for cover letters, they give it, they mark it as optional. The question that we always ask ourselves, okay, like, should I take time to develop a cover letter and submit it, even though it's optional? Because you might say that since they market it as optional, probably they will not take the time and go through it, which is a question that goes on everyone's mind. Even me, sometimes when I apply for jobs and I see that cover letter is optional, I would pay full focus on the resume or the cover or the CV and not to the cover letter. But this is something that we'll discuss it later. But short answer is yes, we have to take our time and to build a really strong and attractive cover letter, and we will dig deeper later on the reasons why. Usually motivational letters, they are mandatory because motivational letter, the purpose is completely different. The motivational letter, the purposes mostly is educational purposes, because the motivational letter are not requested by jobs, but they are usually requested or required by institutions when you're applying for a scholarship, when you're applying for universities, for fellowships, etc., etc. So I rarely saw any institutions that are advertising for a fellowship or a scholarship or anything that they mark motivational letter as optional, which is completely different. The cover letter jobs, they might mark cover letter as optional, but for motivational letter, usually when there is a requirement for a motivational letter, it is actually required. It's not going to be optional. They will ask for your CV and also for your motivational letter. Let me run quickly through the agenda of today. For clear, short, straight to the point bullet point that we are going to cover. We are going to cover the differences and the use of cover letter and motivational letter. We are going to be discussing about the essential parts of the cover and motivational letter. And also we are going to discuss the structure of the cover and motivational letter. And finally, we are going to discuss the do's and don'ts. Now, today it's going to be a little bit different compared to the last week, because last week we talked about resume and CV or curriculum vitae. But then we discussed their differences and we just focused on the content for resume. Usually the resume and the curriculum vitae, they are similar, except that the length is different. I know, as I mentioned before, a curriculum vitae or a CV, it's for educational and research purposes. Resume is for professional and job-related or vocational-related purposes. But then after that, everything becomes similar. Now, in the cover letter and the motivational letter, you will see in every section that we are going to cover, there will be subdivision. There will be subdivision. Here is what we do in the motivational letter. Here is what we do in the cover letter. Here is the structure of the motivational letter. Here is the structure of cover letter, because most of the time they are completely different, and you will see later. But as I say, most of the time, not all the time, because there is a striking similarity both in cover letter and motivational letter. And again, bear with me, we are going to go through these differences in a second. So what are the differences and what's the use of a cover letter and a motivational letter? This is a table that summarizes everything. And let me take one step back, because I know that some of you just joined and probably they did not hear the first section of this presentation. I stressed on the fact that sometimes cover letter, they are not mandatory to be submitted with your CV or with your resume. But again, they are not mandatory. They might be optional, but I highly encourage you guys to send a cover letter. And the reason is simple, because if I am a recruiter and I am looking for example, to hire a project manager, if I have two applications from two different applicants and both submitted their CV, one of them submitted a cover letter, the other did not submit a cover letter, and focus on what I'm going to say right now, I'm not going to be rejecting the applicant that did not submit a cover letter. No, because I did not require a cover letter at the beginning. So it's not that one applicant submitted a cover letter and the other not. I am going to go with the one who submitted a cover letter. No. However, the cover letter, the applicant who submitted a cover letter might be more persuasive than the applicant who did not submit a cover letter. And the reason why is that the applicant who submitted a cover letter will tell me exactly some details in the cover letter that they may not be in the CV or the resume that will persuade me to call that person. However, the applicant who did not submit a cover letter, he just submitted a resume and a CV, and I need to analyze their CV and the resume. So I may, and then I may or may not be persuaded to call that person for an interview. But the person who submitted a cover letter made it easier for me. Made it easier because basically he or she built a cover letter and kind of like persuaded me through sharing the experiences with a good structure, etc., etc. So this is the advantage. So remember this: whenever there is a job that requests or that requires CV and resume and makes the cover letter optional, please do submit a cover letter anyway and take your time in building cover letter, and we will share some tips. So this is something really important. Again, for a motivational letter, most of the time, when there is a requirement for a motivational letter or a request for a motivational letter, it is mandatory to submit a motivational letter. It is always mandatory to submit a motivational letter. You never see any posting or any opportunity that puts a motivational letter as optional. No. Motivational letter, if it is gonna be in the application, requested in the application that you need to submit, it is always going to be mandatory. I hope this point is clear. Now, let's go through the differences and the use. So the purpose of the cover letter is professional, purely professional. You never see scholarship opportunities or fellowship opportunities or postdoctorate opportunities that they ask for a cover letter. No. Cover letter always comes with jobs. When there is a job opportunity or professional opportunity, they will ask you for a cover letter. Motivational letter is purely for educational purposes. There is rarely jobs that they ask for motivational letters. There are jobs that they ask for a cover letter, and there are jobs they ask for a statement of purposes, but there is rarely maybe 1% of jobs that they ask for motivational letters. They want to know what are your motivations, but cover letter also cover motivations. Motivational letters, when there is opportunity for scholarship, as I mentioned it, they ask for either motivational letters or statements of objectives. And statement of objectives is similar to motivational letter. It's the same. There is just differences in the names and in the titles. So remember this. Cover letter, is professional. Motivational letter is educational, which is usually in the educational purposes, they ask for motivational letter and for CV, curriculum vitae, because both are detailed. Cover letter in the jobs, they might ask for a CV or a resume, and then a cover letter as well. So these two packages, they come, these two packages, like in the job, for job purposes, for professional purposes, the package consists of cover letter and CV or resume. For educational purposes, the package comes with a CV and a motivational letter. The main focus for the cover letter is to state the skills and the qualifications for a specific job. And basically, the cover letter should focus on what you have in CV, and you will see later, when I say what you have in CV, you should not repeat exactly what you have in CV. You should go in depth on what you have in CV. There are people sometimes that they think that the cover letter is basically copy paste from your CV or from your resume. Whatever you put in a resume, copy paste it, add some language, and that's it. No. So if, for example, in your CV, you put that you worked on sales, and you put that you basically made $1,000 of sales during the last month, in the cover letter, I want you to give me the details how you managed to reach that $1,000. Okay, so this is really important. It's true you have to mention what you have in CV, but you have to go in details. CV, it's highlights of your achievements. Cover letter is details how you managed to achieve what you have in your CV. Now, the motivational letter, the main focus is your personal motivations and aspirations and ambitions. What I mean is that if any one of you applied for a scholarship, Thomas Jefferson, Fulbright, there are like scholarship for Germany, for Canada, for whatever university whatsoever, or whatever educational institution whatsoever, they ask for a cover letter, for a motivational letter. And the motivational letter, basically, it's called motivational letter. So they want to know what are your motivations and what are your aspirations. They want to know why you are applying for the scholarship, why you are motivated to study whatever you want to study, what are your aspirations, what do you self in the future, and what this scholarship or how this scholarship will help you to achieve these ambitions. So this is the focus of the motivational letter and the focus on the cover letter. The structure, cover letter is 100% formal. Motivational letter is less formal. Guys, motivational letter is less formal, not informal. Please focus on this, because some people, you will see later in the don'ts in the motivational letter, some people that sometimes they go deep into emotions in the motivational letter. It is fine to go deep into emotions, but make it and keep it formal. Not 100% formal, but don't fall into certain traps that we will discuss later, where you will get too emotional. And when you get too emotional, you start writing things that probably should not be written in a motivational letter. This is really important, because in the content for the motivational letter, you have to write down your experiences, some experiences that affected you deeply. But some experiences that affected you deeply is great. It comes with emotions, but don't go so deep in emotions, because still a motivational letter is not informal, is just less formal than, for example, cover letter. So this is really important, and this is basically the content. The content itself in the motivational letter is a personal experience. What are the personal experience? You have to tell me about something that happened to you that drastically changed you from one person to another, and that other person that you became because of that experience, how is he or she fit for that scholarship? In the cover letter, you have to put not a personal experience, but a job-related experiences and skills. Give me some professional experiences that changed you. In the motivational letter, give me some personal experiences that changed you. In the cover letter, some professional experiences that changed you and that helped you to acquire some skills. And it made you who you are right now, and how fit you are right now. It made you who you are right now, and it made you fit for the job that you're applying for. The tone in the cover letter is professional, and the motivational letter, the tone is personal and passionate. What I mean about the cover letter, the tone should be professional, straight to the word, straight to the point, sorry, and it should be professional. But the motivational letter, the tone should be personal, but passionate. You have to be passionate. You have to show your passion. And please, when I say, again, when you have to show that you are passionate, it doesn't mean that you have to show your weaknesses, because there is difference. Okay, some people usually use what I call sympathy vocabs. You should not use sympathy vocabs to attract people and to show that you are passionate. You probably can use empathy vocabs to show people that you are passionate. So this is the important thing. So sympathy and empathy, basically sympathy is you are looking for pity from people. Empathy, it's basically to have the people live the same experience with you and attract them and to have them agree on what you lived, on the emotion you lived and the experience that you lived. The customization is basically for the cover letter, it needs to be simply tailored to the job description and the company. The motivational letter, it needs to be tailored to the specific program and the institutions and what is required. Because, for example, some scholarships, you have to share some motivations that are tailored to the specific program, to the institutions, and probably to the culture where you will be studying. So this is really important. Length, usually cover letter 1 page, or most of the time 1 page, or I highly recommend to keep it 1 page. The motivational letter is 1 to 2 pages, and it can be even more. So these are the differences between cover letter and motivational letter. And please take note of any of your questions so you can ask them later on the differences, or you can drop them in the chat box. Okay, now 4 essential parts of your cover letter and motivational letter. So there are 4 parts in the cover letter, but the motivational letter, there are four main parts, but I added another one. In the cover letter, the 4 essential parts, I structured them as questions. In the cover letter, 4 questions need to be answered, or 4 points need to be addressed. First of all, can you do the job? Do you have the right skills to do the job? And basically here, in the resume or the CV, you state your skills, you state your achievements, but you do not state whether or not you can do your job. In the cover letter, that's when you mention how you can do the job and how these achievements will help you or will assist you to get that job done. So this is something really important. And that's why I go back to my example where an applicant submitted a CV with a cover letter and an applicant who submitted a CV without the cover letter. Because the guy who submitted a CV with a cover letter, in the cover letter, he or she mentioned how she or he will do the job. So this is something really important, and this is the question number 1 that you need to answer in your cover letter. In the cover letter, it's really important to put how to answer, do we like you? What do I mean by do we like you? Is that the company, the first question that they would ask themselves when they see, do we like this profile? And it also falls under the second point, which is, are you good fit? They both align. So if I receive your CV and I receive your cover letter, the first question that I will ask myself, do I like this person? And is this person fit for the job or fit for the culture? Remember this. And how do you answer this question? Because again, this is the first question that the recruiter would ask themselves. Do we like this person, and is this person fit for the job? That's why in your cover letter, you have to answer these 2 questions. And how do you answer these questions? You need to go through the job description and see what they required, not necessarily from a hard skills point of view, but also from soft skills point of view and a cultural point of view. There are sections in the job descriptions where they say we need someone who's team player, someone who's leader, someone who works under pressure. These are the key skills that if I see in the cover letter, I would say, I like this person. This person has the foundation on which I can build a good profile for this job, even if this person doesn't have the required hard skills. The same for the culture fitness. The culture fitness is sometimes they put like someone who should be able to perform in a multicultural environment, or someone who's who worked on multicultural team before. But in the same time, there are companies that they have specific values. So in the job descriptions, sometimes companies, they do not mention their values. Guys, I want you to focus on this because this it doesn't come in the CV, it doesn't show up in the CV, but it can be showed up in the cover letter. Each company and each organization, they have values. There is no company in the world that does not have values or mission or vision. What you can do, you need to go the extra mile when you go through the job description for a specific company. If they do not share the values, you go to the company website, figure out what the values, see how you match in terms of values, and see how you can add that in your cover letter. Be as honest as possible. If you don't have those values, it is fine. You don't say that you don't have the values, you just don't mention them. But that's how they know that you are fit. For me, when I see the cover letter, I say whether or not this person is fit is by seeing whether or not in the cover letter there are hints if that person aligns with the value of the company that I'm recruiting for. So this is important. If there is nothing, if there is no hint in the job description about the values of the company, go the extra mile, do your research about the company and see what are the values and see how you can align with these values and add that in the cover letter. Last point, cover letter. What do you bring to the table? What are your values? Because each one of us has specific values. Each one of us, we may or may not have values. It is fine. But I know most of us, if you focus with yourself, you have like specific values. These values can be an addition to the company, but also what are the skills that you bring to the table that can make a difference and can help the company achieve its goals and its ambitions. So this is really important. That's for the cover letter. Now, talking about motivational letter and people who are applying for scholarships and for postdoctorate fellowship. In the motivational letter, the questions that you need to answer, I'm going to straighten rapidly and then I'll go into details. What are your motivations, your ambitions? What is your story and your why? And I added whether or not you are fit. And the fifth point that I added, because I know that I mentioned that there are only 4 essential parts, but I really wanted to add this point, is that why are you fit or how are you fit? Because usually, as I mentioned, some scholarships, certain scholarships, because you are going to be university students. When you are university students, you are not just someone who is studying, seeking to graduate, but no, because you will be interacting and exchanging with other students. So they want someone with a heavy cultural background to come to the university and to bring the values and to bring the culture of wherever, like not wherever, currently we're talking about Tunisia, the culture of Tunisia to that university, to that institutions. So this is why you have to mention or you have to give hints. Well, in a motivational letter, you don't give hints, you go into details how you are going to be fit, and fitness usually by bringing that culture to the campus of the university, and how you are going to contribute to spreading the knowledge about that specific culture or the Tunisian culture. Because again, scholarships, especially when you are applying for university and also like, postdoctorate fellowship or any other institutional educational, they are looking for someone who brings the culture and the tradition. Not only someone who's smart, is good at studying, who gets like a good GPA, but we want someone who brings some specific cultures in the campus and in the classroom as well. Now, the motivation. Sahbi, can you mute yourself, please? Now, your motivations, it's obviously you need to mention what are your motivations, why you are applying for these institutions, what is the story behind these motivations, what are the stories behind your ambitions, how this is going to help you, how this scholarship will help you, how this scholarship will teach you, and most importantly, you have to say the why. And the why, basically, it falls or maybe it's an umbrella behind the motivations and the ambitions and the story, because all these points that I mentioned, they are all interlinked, because your story, your motivations, your ambitions are all your why. So it's really important to take your time to know what are your motivations. And there is a piece of information that I want to share with you guys. You never ever write a motivational letter in one night or in 1 week. Motivational letter takes time. Motivational letter takes effort. Motivational letter takes brainstorming. Motivational letter takes assistance, because it is something that I know people that it took them more than a month to write a motivational letter. So take your time. If you are planning to apply for a specific scholarship, if, for instance, you are planning to apply for Fulbright scholarship for a master degree in the US, obviously, Fulbright, they will ask for a motivational letter. Maybe the application timeline will be next year, or maybe it will be in a couple of months. I think that it passed already. But if some of you, they are planning to apply next year, start writing your motivational letter from this moment. Because your motivational letter, because let me tell you this, for the motivational letter, we have, how can I say, like, our mood constantly changes. What do I mean by our mood constantly changes? Because, for example, I wrote motivational letter before. Probably some of you who wrote motivational letters before, they know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I do not feel like writing. Sometimes I am showered with ideas. So this is why if you start writing your motivational letter now, you don't need to finish it. You don't need to write every day. You don't need to write every week. You don't need to write every hour. But the moment you feel inspired, sit down on your desk. You can write even one line. One line would be way more than enough. So this is my piece of recommendation and advice for all of you who are planning to apply for a scholarship that will require a motivational letter. Take your time, start as soon as possible, and you can write a line per week. That's enough. Once you have the aspiration and the inspiration to write something, sit down on your desk and write it. If you remember an interesting story, sit down and write it. You don't need to go deep into details. You don't need to write a whole paragraph. One line is enough. Imagine that you write a line every week from now till 2 or 3 or 4 months from now, or till the end of the year. You will see, you will have like multiple lines with multiple stories, and you can develop. This is really, really important. And this is my recommendation for people who are writing motivational letter. Cover letter, you don't need to take all that time. Cover letter, professional experience. We have a limited number of professional experience and maybe a limited number of professional stories. So cover letter, you can still write a cover letter on one night. It's fine. Because also, like, cover letter is related to specific jobs. So these jobs, they're advertised for only like 3 weeks or 1 month. So once you see it, you start writing cover letter. So you still have like a month. Sometimes some jobs that advertise for 1 week only. So you have 1 week. So the timeline is a bit different. For motivation letter is completely different, because scholarship, we know that the scholarship, they will be advertised on a yearly basis. So we can be prepared for motivation letter. Cover letter, no. So this is important piece of information for you guys in terms of when we should start motivational letter and cover letter, and what should be included, and what are the questions that need to be answered in each one. Now, the cream of the cream, the structure of the cover letter and the motivational letter, how we craft a killer cover letter and motivational letter. There are 3 main components in a cover letter and in a motivational letter. Now, if you hear the heart of the cover letter on the motivational letter. Now, many of you will think that the heart of the cover letter, it means the important piece where, start talking about your skills, start talking about your fit, start talking about your experience, your personal story in the motivational letter, your professional story, etc., etc. It's completely wrong, because the heart of your cover letter or motivational letter is when to engage the reader. And the best way to engage the reader is at the beginning. And that's why we call it the heart. And that's why I have the picture of the hook. And the hook basically is how to grab the reader attentions. So this is really important. And that's at the beginning of your cover letter or your motivational letter. At the beginning of your cover letter or motivational letter, it is basically something similar to the theory of first impression. First impression last. This is what I believe. Other people, they do not believe that. I completely respect this, but it's all about the first impression. It's all about how you grab their attentions so they can finish the whole cover letter or motivational letter. Nail the lead is the most important step. Nail the lead, it means at the beginning, you have to start with a really powerful statement or a powerful story that you can grab their attention so they can be motivated to read till the end. And this is something that readers, book readers, they know about it. Sometimes there are some books that you read, from the first page, you want to drop out. Other people, you read the first page and probably you will finish it in a weekend timeline. So this is something really important. Same when you know someone. Sometimes you see someone, when they start talking, the first few minutes, you will understand that we are not on the same page. We are probably not even on the same book. And probably we are not going to align in terms of like thoughts, conversations, etc., etc. Same in the cover letter and the motivational letters. The heart, it's the beginning of the cover letter and the motivational letter, and it's how to grab it attention. So this is really important. You have to evoke a positive response, and this is, by this I mean that people would be keen to finish the cover letter. You have to position yourself as a skills fit. So basically at the beginning, you have to mention or to share a story how you are skillfully fit for the position through that story. Because later we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about what we call the muscle. It's you have to describe these skills and how it helped you to achieve what you achieved in your CV, on your resume. And then also position yourself, bear with me the spelling mistakes, guys. Position yourself as a cultural match for the company. And in the beginning, or at the beginning, also, you have to answer the question of, or to address the point of, here is who I am and why I want to work for you guys. Sorry, guys. So yeah, here is who I am and why I want to work for you guys. This is also part of the heart of the cover letter or motivational letter. Now, the cream of the, not the cream, I don't want to say like the cream, I don't want to say like the most important section, because I feel like all sections are important. Again, some people, I personally believe that the heart is the most important section, because the heart is how you grab attention. And once you grab attention later, it's not gonna be like problematic to just keep them focused and let them finish at the end, till the end. This is another important section, which is the muscle. The muscle of the cover letter or the motivational letter is basically evidence you have got the good. What I mean by you have got the good is evidence that I have what you ask for. Probably you should consider me. So this is basically the section where you can, for example, highlight words, highlight statements. And you will see later, I will give you example of a cover letter and a motivational letter, which is really important example. It's basically an evidence that I have the fitness to do what you were asking me to do. So this is really important. So this is where you provide evidence of specific skills. This is where you provide evidence that you use that skills to achieve something. And of course, use that evidence and state that evidence. And most importantly, guys, keep it easy. Don't complicate things. Keep it as easy as possible. Don't complicate things. Don't use so like difficult vocabs. And we will discuss later this in the do and the don'ts. Again, I'm sorry for the barking of my dogs on the background. Okay, now the last section, the closing, it's what I call and what is called the ligament, le ligament. The ligament, it's what it ties everything together. Have a strong close. A strong close is basically when you need to wrap up everything, where you need to tell them that, listen, I have these skills, I have these motivations, I am fit, I am ready for the job, I'm probably willing to go through the interview, not probably, I am willing to go through interview and I'm willing to show you who I really am. So this is really important. This is where you encourage them to invite you for an interview. Show confidence and enthusiasm. Show confidence and enthusiasm. Guys, there is really important, how can I say? There is an important point that you have to know is that you have to show confidence and enthusiasm in your closeout, because this is something really important. And also you have to briefly sum up again why you are fit. And eventually and finally, you have to express gratitude for their time and consideration to be as professional as possible. So this is what we call the ligament. Again, the heart, the muscle, and the ligament. The heart is not the middle section. No, it's this beginning where you grab attention. Because once you grab attention, it means you keep in attention. So this is really important. There is a really famous saying that I really like, which is, you attract people by the quality you display. You keep them by the quality you possess. This applies on people, on your personal life, on probably your professional life. You attract people by the quality you display. Sometimes you meet someone, you display certain qualities. So people would like to stay in your life, would be interested to know more about you. However, sometimes these qualities, they are not your true qualities because you are just displaying them. How do you keep these people in your life? Is basically by displaying your true quality. So that's how you keep them. And if these true qualities match about the quality that you displayed at the beginning, people will stay in your life. But if you display different qualities from what you display different quality, like from what you at the beginning, no, it's basically when you possess different quality from what you displayed at the beginning, people will not stay. The same for a cover letter and a motivational letter. You attract the recruiter by the heart or by the opening. You keep them by displaying the skills and the quality in the middle section or in the muscle section. So this is something really important, guys, to take into consideration. This is an example of a cover letter. This also applies for a motivational letter. The only difference is the length. This cover letter is 1 page. You see that the heart at the beginning, and this is someone who applied for a director of pre-sales engineering in North America. When they start by sharing a brief story to grab the recruiter attention. Let me read it. They did not start by like, you know, hey, how are you? Or hey, I'm pleased to apply. No, I want to quickly grab your attention. So they went straight to the point. Giving people peace of mind has been a cornerstone of my career. As a technical sales leader, I strive to create work environments that challenge teams while ensuring that each member feels inspired and fulfilled. I work to give clients the comfort of knowing that without a shadow of doubt, they are in good hands. And I maintain an unwavering commitment to strive as an ally, evangelist, and trusted partner to cross-function stakeholders and channel partner. This is how he wanted to grab the attention of the recruiter. And then he put it, or she put it, sorry, I'm Jennifer Vespes, a senior pre-sale leader with a career built around SAS sector. I would be honored to join your team. See, in the heart, they shared a really interesting story that is relevant to the position to grab the recruiter attention. And then they mentioned that they are interested to join the team. This is how you should start your cover letter. And this is how you should start the motivational letter. In the cover letter, you keep it brief. In the motivational letter, go into details. Keep it relevant. Keep it relevant to the job description. Keep it relevant to the scholarship that you're applying for. Keep it relevant, sweet, and straight to the point. Now, in the muscle, if you see here, they also went straight to the point. In this cover letter, and also this is, I highly advise everyone to do it, they asked a question and they answered it. What specifically will I bring to ABC cybersecurity in this role? And they answered that question. Because this is the relevant and the key question. What am I going to bring to the table in the cover letter, in the job, for like from a job perspective? This is what I'm going to bring in this role, and here is exactly what I'm gonna bring. And they also explained how, and they also explained previous experience, and they highlighted exactly what they are going to bring to the table: leadership, expertise, success, and like, you know, like a reputation of building partnership and being a good liaison. So they highlighted these. If you check the job description, most probably you will see that these skills on these values that will be brought is exactly what like the recruiter is looking for and what is mentioned in the job description. That's why you need to keep it relevant as well. In a motivational letter, the same. See what are some of the skills required, and share also some interesting stories and some motivations from previous experience that you have at personal level, volunteering level as well, or if you have any internship or any professional professional experience. The ligament is how to wrap up, as I mentioned. And here for the ligament, for example, my resume will provide specific detail on my pre-sale experiences, business attitudes, and leadership qualifications. I would also appreciate an opportunity to meet and discuss your goals and challenges further and share my specific thoughts on how I could help, etc., etc. Thank you for your consideration. I welcome any follow-up. So you have to have like a really good ligament here. They linked the cover letter to the CV. This is one way I recommend to close your your cover letter or your resume. Same as well for a motivational letter. Make a little bit more extensive because this matters. And don't keep it simple. As I mentioned, by keeping it simple, I mean don't overcomplicate things but using complicated languages. No, this is not the point. Use like a simple, easy languages, straight to the point, because it's not relevant to use complicated vocabs and complicated languages. I know some people, when they are writing their cover letter on their motivational letter, they try to use some website to give them, you know, synonym for specific vocabs. Probably not, because if you put like a well-structured thoughts using easy languages, it's way more than enough. It's important to capture the story. It doesn't matter whether you use easy languages or complicated languages, but you make it way better for the reader if you use easy language, easy vocabs. Now, cover letter do's and don'ts, and this, sorry guys, it also applies on motivational letter. Probably I should have, probably I should have like put it in motivational letter, but the do is basically search and use keywords from the job description or from the scholarship ad. Keywords are really important to be used, but also don't focus too much on keywords. You don't need to mention every single keywords that you find in the job description or the scholarship in your motivational letter or in cover letter. No, just use maybe the keywords that are repetitive, keywords that you think that they are the top 3 or 5, and the top 3 or 5 usually they are repetitive. They repeated like once or twice in the job description or in the scholarship ad. The other thing, ask someone to review. Ask someone to review your cover letter. Ask someone to review your motivational letter. And this is basically to see whether or not people would be sold by, not sold, whether or not these people are bought. Yeah, are bought, because you are selling basically an idea or yourself. So people, if you manage to, yeah, people are bought. I think you got my point. So yeah, well, to make it easier, see if people, if you manage to sell your people to, you sell your ideas or you sell yeah, like your story to someone who's gonna read. I mean, you can ask a friend, you can ask a mentor, you can ask like one of your parents. Focus on your key achievements. This is really important. Your key achievements matters. So focus on your key achievements, whether in your motivation letter, on a cover letter. Also check spelling mistakes, as I mentioned. And again, less is more. And what I mean by less is more is, again, like don't overcomplicate vocabs that you are using. Don't over describe achievements, because some people sometimes what they can say in a couple of phrases or one phrase, they say it in paragraph. No, because you can say like one statement about a certain achievement where you are clear and straight to the point, and it gives you more space to share another achievements, better than, you know, like take you one paragraph to just say that you actually did an internship where you learned some coding language. The don't is basically, as I mentioned, don't focus too much on keywords, but also don't use same cover and motivational letter for multiple positions. This is not the smartest thing that you do, guys. Like the CV and resume, you have to tailor your cover and motivational letter based on the opportunity. Don't repeat information from your resume. What I mean here is that don't put exactly what you put it in your resume in your cover letter, but rather develop what you put it in your resume or CV in the cover letter. So if you put, for example, you managed department of operations and sales grow by 10%. In the cover letter, you have to put, how did you manage to grow the sales by 10%? You have to develop. You have to mention exactly the step-by-step how you did it. Don't express weaknesses. This is really important. The cover letter and the CV, they are not a space where you mention weaknesses. Weaknesses may be something you will mention later in the interview, and we'll discuss it next week. But it's important to mention weaknesses and then develop how you are improving and how these are room for improvements. I don't like saying the word weaknesses a lot. I prefer saying room for improvement. And the other thing is, don't use an improper tone, which is important to avoid demanding, desperate, and over-enthusiastic tone. It's important to stay motivated, stay enthusiastic, but don't be over-enthusiastic. So these are languages you have to avoid. Keep, as I mentioned in the cover letter, the professional tone. In the motivational letter, less formal tone, but expressing enthusiasm and expressing a little bit of professionalism and eagerness and motivation, which are completely different from desperation and demanding and, yeah, over enthusiastic tone. So this is, guys, it for the cover and motivation letter. Hopefully it's useful. Hopefully it helps. If you have any question, I'll go through the chat box. I think that there are a few questions, but also if you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask these questions. I hope that this was useful, insightful, and helpful. And yeah, floor is open for any questions, guys. Can I create, wait, let me go one by one. If we are aiming to get an internship, in case the internship is in a lab at a university, then we talk about a motivational letter. And if the internship is in company, industry, then it's the case of cover letter. Am I right? No. So first of all, it depends what they are asking. If they are asking for a CV and they are not mentioning anything beside the CV, go ahead and submit a cover letter, not a motivational letter. A motivational letter, it is something related to education. A lab in a university, it is not education. That's professional. Education is a scholarship where you are going to take classes, where you are going to take semester somewhere. But you are a lab, you are doing analysis, you are doing experimental study. It is a bit different because you will be dealing with managers, you will be dealing with colleagues, you will be dealing with, how can I say, professional acquaintances. So it's a bit different. So here we talk about cover letter, but submit it when they ask for it. If it is optional, still submit it. If you go the extra mile, you can go ahead and submit it. You can go ahead and submit it even if they do not ask for it. Because generally, if I do not ask for a cover letter, I'm not expecting cover letter, it is fine. But as I mentioned before, you can go the extra mile. And yeah, I would still personally recommend to submit a cover letter. I hope that this is clear. But in a lab in university, it's not a motivation letter, it's a cover letter. Internship in the company, a cover letter as well. That's it. Send me the technique. The website is not very correct. I'm not sure, Amira, if I got your point right. Send me the technique. The website is not very correct. If you can explain. If you can explain, yes. Can I create with Canva? What do you mean create with Canva, Amira? If you mean the template, cover letter does not need a template. Cover letter, you can put like, your name in the top, cover letter or motivational letter, and you go ahead and start with your text. So you can go ahead and start with your text. And yeah, you don't need any Canva. Again, remember guys, keep it easy, don't overcomplicate. I'm not sure if you attended the previous training regarding the CV and the resume. I shared some templates. I told before that it's fine to use other templates, but keep it as simple as possible. Don't overcomplicate it. Less is more. This is really important. Less is more. And in French, and I think that it is saying that goes like this: La simplicité fait la beauté. And it's true. The more simple you keep it, the better. And this is what I like basically when I receive application from candidate. When it's simple, I really admire that, especially when it is simple and straight to the point. So try to keep it simple as much as possible. Try to avoid any complications, not only in the text, but also in the design. Yeah, guys, if you have any other questions, please. We still have 25 minutes, but if any one of you has any questions. So the thing is, the next session that we are going to have is going to be about how to nail your interview. The interview process, it is a tricky process, especially in terms of how to prepare it and what are the questions that we need to focus on the most. There are mistakes people do, sorry. These mistakes can be fatal for interviews, like people memorizing from E to Z the answers for questions, which I do not encourage at all. Now, what I'm saying this because the next session, it is going to be the last session on what I'm calling vocational related training or job search related training, where we covered basically how to plan your career, how to use LinkedIn, CV, cover letter, and next time is going to be interview. After that, we will attack soft skills. So if you guys think of any question right now related to previous sessions, LinkedIn, CV and resume, job search, etc., please ask your question now. Or also next week, you can still have the opportunity to ask the questions because the week after we will shift completely to talk about soft skills. But yeah, floor is yours now if you want to ask any questions regarding job, careers, resume, CVs in Tunisia, abroad, etc. Please ask these questions now. I'm happy to answer them because we have time. If there is no questions, I will give you back 20 minutes and we can end this session. I'll wait just a few seconds, see if anyone has any questions. All right. I think no questions so far. So I think, yeah, that's it, Gillian. I think that we can, I'll send you the recording so we can cascade to the participants over email. Will be beneficial for those who did not attend actually.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So thank you, Malik, and thank you everyone who joined us today. We hope to see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, wherever you are.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.